Hello everyone, welcome to my new video. Today I will be talking about the past perfect. The past perfect is used to talk about action that happened before another action in the past. The formula is simple, had in past participle of the verb. For example, when I arrived at the party, my friends had already eaten. Okay, let's start.
Functions. When the action took place before another action in the past. When the action had a duration before another action in the past. When the action took place before another action in the past. For example, he had finished her homework before she went out with her friends. We had lived in that city for 5 years before we moved. He had saved enough money before he bought his car. She had forgotten his birthday, so she was upset. When the action had a duration before another action in the past, for example, we had waited for 2 hours before the bus finally arrived. She had worked on the project for weeks before presenting it. He had worked at the company for 15 years before he retired. She had studied French for 5 years before she traveled to Paris. Structures of the primitive sentences. Subject, class had, class past participle of the verb. For example, she had finished her work by the time we met. They had left before we arrived at the party. I had already eaten when they carried me. Structure of negative sentences. For example, he hadn't studied for till test when the teacher gave it. I hadn't seen that movie before. We hadn't learned from her in months. Structure of the interrogative sentences. Had, class, subject, class, past participle of the verb, class, question. For example, had you finished your homework before going out? Had they been to the museum when you met them? Had you ever visited that restaurant before? Rule of the verbs, regular verb and irregular verbs. Regular verbs. When the verb is regular, use blue at it to the end of the verb. For example, work, worked, play, played, visit, visited, finish, finished. For example, they had finished their work by the time we arrived.